Hey everybody, I'm Robert Donovan. Welcome to this episode of Rants, Screeds, and Random Thoughts. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I need to vent a bit of schadenfreude here. As all of you who have watched my other rants know, I am an Axanar donor and absolutely not a fan of the Kelvin or Star Trek Discovery timelines. As bad as most of the Next Generation movies were, they at least were in canon. The rights issues, the mediocre to lousy performance at the box office of the Kelvin movies, the horrid first episode of Discovery Season 2, which I am glad was offered for free on YouTube because there's no way I'm paying for that garbage, and the excellent first 5 episodes of Season 2 of the Orville as of the time of this recording have all prompted me to dust off the rant mic. Well, having endured the ordeal that was watching Season 2, Episode 1, and thoroughly enjoying the first 5 episodes of the Orville, I begin to think that even if CBS manages to restore Star Trek to its past glory, an iffy proposition at best given the people currently in charge, they have still, I think, irretrievably damaged the Star Trek brand and market share. I'm calling it the Orville effect. Ever since Star Trek Enterprise, it has become increasingly clear that the intellectual snobs at CBS, until recently led by Les Moonves, considered Star Trek and sci-fi to be beneath them. Not worth their time to do well, but too big a potential cash cow to license properly to anyone else. This led to the Kelvin timeline, the Axanar lawsuit, the draconian fan film guidelines, CBS spending the 50th anniversary of Star Trek literally or symbolically suing its core audience, the box office fizzle of Star Trek Beyond. These things have all been well treated elsewhere, but it has all culminated in the abomination that is Star Trek Discovery. In the aftermath of all that, and the Kelvin timeline movies not doing well, particularly Beyond, the core cast of Kelvin Trek has walked away due to a lack of investor interest and consequent inability of Paramount to pay them. The free episode offered on YouTube barely got 1 million views in 6 days. It is telling that CBS did this on YouTube, not CBS All Access. CBS clearly thinks that the episode would get significantly better view and watch time numbers there than on CBS All Access. One can only conclude that Star Trek Discovery hasn't performed anywhere near expectations. Finally, Anas Abdeen, in the ultimate irony for an Axanar donor anyway, he's the writer of the video game Tardigrades, and he has filed a lawsuit against CBS for copyright infringement. It seems several elements of the Discovery plot and the characters closely resemble those in the Tardigrades video game. In short, CBS has made a raging dumpster fire of a once great franchise. Prior to the fan film guidelines, fans could at least get a decent Star Trek fix now and again, courtesy of guys like Vic Mignogna and James Cawley, and numerous others who kept fan hopes alive that CBS would come to its senses. Since CBS chose instead to alienate the fans with a lawsuit against Axanar being something the fans rabidly wanted, and pushing Discovery, which fans emphatically did not want, and then calling the fans who didn't like Discovery racist homophobes, CBS clearly signaled that it was abandoning the original core fan base that had made the property so valuable, leaving, if you will, a market share vacuum. A vacuum surrounded by irate fans of real Star Trek. Enter Seth MacFarlane and the Orville to fill that vacuum. MacFarlane couldn't have asked for a better environment to premiere what amounts to direct competition to Star Trek. 10 years ago, the Orville would have been seen as a knockoff, a parody at best, a cheap imitation at worst. Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, and shows like them, they all competed in their way with Star Trek, but they were clearly different shows, and not intending to be Trek-like. The Orville, on the other hand, is doing exactly that. MacFarlane has demonstrated with the Orville how to create a sci-fi show with Star Trek-like stories, a hopeful view of the future, and characters in a setting that could handily coexist within the Star Trek universe. In short, he's doing everything the fan films were doing, just not with Star Trek. MacFarlane is not the only one who's doing this either, and what I think scares the bejesus out of CBS right now is that despite the Orville being a little uneven in quality from episode to episode, something that has plagued Star Trek for decades, the Orville, from the view of traditional Star Trek fans, is not so much a knockoff as a replacement. Better put together on its worst day, in its worst nightmare, than Discovery is on its best day in its wildest dreams. If Orville Season 2 can match or exceed the performance of Discovery, and that's actually setting the bar pretty low, it would seem, given that they've just put the thing up for free on YouTube, but if they can do that, the rest of the industry is going to smell money and follow suit. leaving CBS competing for what would have been exclusive Star Trek eyeballs before Axanar and Discovery. This is going to make it easier for guys like Marc Zicree to sell his Space Command show, which I think is great, by the way, and it'll also incentivize competing networks and streaming services to create similar shows of their own. That doesn't mean CBS can't get back on track, nor does it mean that fans of one show will not watch the others. This is not an either-or proposition here. That is, if these shows are good. I think Star Trek really can, and I wish they would go back to the Star Trek fans want, a la Axanar and Star Trek canon. That is, canon, not prime. But the longer they take, and the more choices that fans get, the harder it becomes for CBS to win them back without really, really good Star Trek shows. Now, as a fan, I actually love this possibility. We, the fans, get better sci-fi. CBS gets forced to create decent Trek for a change, and gets a proper smackdown in the marketplace that it so richly deserves for betraying its core fans. So as we watch the Orville, let us also revel in the delicious irony that by treating fans as rivals for views on CBS All Access, by crushing fan film productions and dumping all over longtime fans with a crappy product they never wanted like Star Trek Discovery, CBS created an opening for the very competition they hoped to protect against. CBS and Paramount failed to see that Star Trek Discovery, in the words of Senator Vreenak, is a fake. Fans recognized it immediately. Let me know if you think I'm totally out to lunch or not with this hypothesis in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I feel much better now that I've gotten this off my chest.